Today we have a very special guest on Power Charting, Alessio Rutiliano. He is a cryptocurrency and Wyckoff method expert. We've had him on the show before. These are just really raucous times in the cryptocurrency markets. And we wanted to bring Alessio on so that Alessio can share with us his interesting observations on what's going on. And also, Alessio has these great content that's available to you if you go to wyckoffanalytics.com, which is, he has a free video series that is available. You go right to the website and you can click right in. They do a new one, he and Ramon, every Thursday afternoon it becomes available. And then he and Ramon, mainly Alessio, is doing this great crypto trading lab on Discord, which has become hugely successful and widely followed. And so we are thrilled to have Alessio here to talk about this and some of the things that he's doing, some of the very innovative research. And so Alessio, welcome to Power Charting.
Hi, Bruce. I'm very glad to be here. And this is a very interesting time to discuss crypto markets together. We've seen a tremendous amount of volatility in the last 2 months, Bruce. So the sentiment is very bearish, but this is the time where we have to use our skills and study the market through the lens of the Wyckoff method, Bruce.
Alessio, we need you so badly right now. So we have you here to hold our hands and to help us to navigate through this. I like what you're saying. And by the way, I will let the attendees, our viewers, freeze the screen here and they can read about you, your incredible accomplishments in this area. And by the way, Alessio is a very innovative analyst in the crypto space, doing things that are really unique and different and hugely beneficial to traders. But I want to point out something coming up that's very special. July 8th and 15th, 2 sessions. Alessio is going to be leading a discussion on point and figure from stocks to crypto. And this is going to be a place where we are going to showcase incredible analysis using point and figure methodology, what it is, how to use it, unique aspects of it. And Alessio, I'm proud to say that I get to be your sidekick for these 2 sessions. We're going to do this together. And I think this is fantastic. I cannot wait. I have seen some of Alessio's work and it's really, really special. And so it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody and including me.
So now, Bruce, let's give a quick look to Bitcoin. So after the big sell-off that we've seen in the last few months, price is consolidating in a very tight trading range. And we are seeing several demand tails on the bottom of this formation. And just in the last few days, good volume off the bottom is suggesting presence of demand. So we are currently springing the support of this logarithmic channel. And this is an important spot because value buyers have to prove again their interest for this asset class. And generally, we'll have to trade good spring in an uptrend, last point of support on good relative strength. This is a different chart. There's no doubt that this formation has a lot of work to do in order to establish a bullish bias. So we are probably still at the beginning of a much more prolonged consolidation. But I would say, Bruce, this is a very opportunistic spot, and we have to approach this market with a trading mentality and be totally open to several outcomes, because historically, Bitcoin can really surprise us to the upside and to the downside. What do you think about this chart, Bruce?
Well, there's 2 very important areas of support here. One is the uptrending channel, which is dramatic, and then it's penetrated that here recently with a pretty sharp decline. And then the spring type action that also has slightly penetrated the support area. So this is like it's a twofer. There's two things going on here that are so interesting. And so springs are often considered to be places to initiate a tranche to see whether or not it can work. And usually it would be the test of a spring. Have we seen a test here yet?
Absolutely. So we have to be very cautious, and we have just to follow the price action here in this area. So it would be nice to see a rally that at least reach the resistance of this trading range. So we have to see, but I think this is a very interesting picture right here that we're seeing. The sentiment is so bearish for now, Bruce.
So participants are very bearish at this point, and basically Bitcoin has been in a sideways trading range, what we call building a cause, since the middle of May. And so that's a substantially long period of time for Bitcoin because it moves pretty fast.
Absolutely. And this is a kind of strange animal because we do not see in this formation a lot of volume on the final up moves. The selling comes on the way down. It's a kind of urgent selling. And we generally have this kind of selling when the market suddenly goes from risk-on environment to risk-off, or when some kind of external event is triggering a lot of selling. And we know that after the crackdown of all mining activity in China, many miners have been forced to sell a significant amount of their Bitcoin holdings in order to move their equipment to other countries. And we know that mining is an extremely capital intensive business. And generally, this kind of events coincides with a period of consolidation. So I think it's really time to look at this asset and follow the price action very closely in the next weeks and months. We have to be very, very flexible.
So I sense in your discussion here that you're still in the stalking mode. You're not yet at a place where you're ready to make the case for any kind of a sustainable rally in Bitcoin.
Yes, absolutely. We are still in the trading mode, not yet in the investing mode, absolutely. But this is kind of trading opportunity that we can just look at. But if you think this is a speculative chart, here is the altcoin market. This is Thorchain, a mid-cap crypto asset. Look what unbelievable bull run we have here. It's clearly a Wyckoff structure, two big trading ranges that generate massive uptrend, a first change of character in May, local distribution, and right now we are forming a big trading range. This is an extremely speculative instrument, and we also have to think about all the emotional aspects of trading cryptos. Because if you do not focus on the low volatility area, it's very difficult to jump on this beautiful trend because this asset moves so fast. This is a 20 bagger.
Wow.
So how do we manage? Absolutely. How do we manage all this volatility? We need targets. We need a tool that help us to manage the volatility and give us clues about the whole picture. And Bruce, have you any idea about what kind of technique we can use here?
Well, the only thing I would know what to do, and of course, this is my approach to everything, is to do point and figure charts on it. So I do that to everything. So it's a habit. It's a bad habit. It's a good habit. I don't know. It's a habit.
I think it's a very good habit.
Okay.
And we have it here.
Oh my gosh. This is the structures that we just looked at, but on a point and figure basis.
Yes, and this is not a conventional point and figure chart. This is a 10% chart.
Ooh.
And percentage scaling is one of the ingredients of our secret sauce. And Bruce
do we dare talk about this?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right. Are we going to talk about percentage scale in our workshop?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
And
okay, okay.
yeah, it's so important, and it works so well in the crypto space because volatility is extreme, and percentage scaling is very similar to log chart, log to low scale on vertical chart. And so as usual, we count from the LPS to the selling climax, and we look how accurate are these targets here. And when you see this chart, you have a trading plan right away. You can manage this tremendous volatility and look for the best risk reward spots. Right now, we are forming a big trading range. I suspect that this is still phase B, so we can just do a structural trade, but we do not have any clue of relative strength for this asset right now. And we probably need to consolidate for several months. But here we see an analog with a defined index, which clearly show that cryptos can build a significant cause in just few months. So this was the defined index, which is basically the Nasdaq of crypto. And here we can see the huge sell-off that we've seen in September in 2020. And we all remember that in that period, we just had a very deep correction in the Nasdaq. So many speculative assets were sold. And this is exactly what has happened in the DeFi index. And after that, look at the texture of this trading range. The participation is extremely low. So basically market participants are running away from this asset class. And look at here. It's very beautiful to see an uptrend, this local up, this up move with a lot of demand, a LPS, which is very frustrating for crypto traders. And after that, a beautiful up move. So this is just an analog. So we have to follow the market swing by swing and see what can happen here. But I think it's a very interesting analog. Bruce, what do you think about these two charts?
Well, you and Roman have really helped me to respect the analog. And I really love the way that you can pull these examples from other markets and historic examples and so on. And this is really dramatic, and it gives us a roadmap. And the thing we like to say, Roman says this, and I know you say it, is that analogs work until they don't. And so far, it appears. Now, what I like about analogs, especially when you're comparing Bitcoin instruments in the space, is that these traders that work in these markets tend to all kind of have similar patterns and behaviors in the way that they trade. That's why analogs work. And so here in the crypto space, this analog is likely to persist. And so this is very exciting because we can then, now here we are at the support level on the Rune analog. And in October on the DeFi analog, or you can see it went slightly through support and then attempted to rally, poor quality rally to a lower high, classic phase B, segment B behavior, or phase B behavior, and then down it went for a deeper, what we might call a shakeout, or a deep kind of a spring type action. So we would now test for that in any kind of a rally that comes up in the Rune and see whether or not it has a rally of similar extent and sort of texture. And that would continue to confirm the analog. So I think that's wonderful. And then more importantly, Alessio, is over here on the right side where you can see that in the DeFi index that it can't get back down to support again, and every attempt to go down seems to show diminished volume on the decline. What do you interpret that to mean?
That's a beautiful LPS. So basically, supply is very exhausted. We already had a good sign of demand coming in. And this is a frustrating point for traders in general, which are just cannot believe that their asset after such a good demand can go back to the support, Bruce. So a very tremendous psychological moment here.
Right. And you, yes, and you can really see that in the bars on the chart there. Just the extreme emotion, the big tail, the wide range, and so on.
And the most beautiful aspect of this chart is that the volatility is present in the price signature, but not in the volume signature, this segment of the chart.
Yes.
So this is a clue that weak hands are selling here.
Or maybe weak hands have mostly sold and absorbed. So the whole idea of reaccumulation is that absorption by very strong hands is very nearly complete or complete. And that's what allows a market to rally easily. Would you interpret that in that chart?
Absolutely.
And so we are looking for the evidence of absorption. So as you get into the very late stages of accumulation, you can see that volume diminishing as there's an attempt to go down towards support, which you can't get to. Classic Wyckoff interpretation. And so this is why Wyckoff and the horizontal point and figure charting are such a powerful combination. And I really don't think there's anybody out there that does this work, especially with the horizontal point and figure work like Alessio does. Alessio, I have one kind of comment question on the point and figure chart. Yes. And that is that, you know, typically with percent scale point and figure, which is something we'll talk about in more detail later on in our workshop, but it's a very special kind of a computational analysis. And normally with percent scale point and figure on, say, stocks or indexes, that you do them on much bigger accumulation structures or distribution over a longer time period. So it might be like weeks to months and months and months, where in crypto, which is so interesting to me, Alessio, is crypto, you can do this point and figure analysis on structures that are like 6 to 8 weeks in duration. And look at how beautifully they compound. This is a compounding calculation. This isn't just calculating points up or down. You're calculating the compounding rate of the advance. And look at how quickly these compounding moves take place. It's really dramatic, I think.
Absolutely. We are seeing here very big up moves. Oh. And this happens because the volatility throughout this trading range is extreme. So the percentage scaling chart is a very good tool for this kind of volatile beasts.
Wow. Well, I'm so intrigued with this and impressed. And that's a beautiful chart, Alessio, beautiful chart.
And I really like here this trend line, which is very well defined. And this chart is so easy, it's so good, because basically we can find this trend line support here, trend line support here, but this is a huge scale. We're talking from $1 to $20.
Oh my gosh.
And we can manage our emotions in a more efficient way, especially in this point here, in this local distribution, which is very difficult here. So basically the PNF chart can give us more information sometimes than the vertical chart. It can help us to recognize the structural market in a much easier way.
Beautiful. Wonderful work.
Thank you, Bruce.
And there's much more to see in our workshop. So this is just a really kind of a introduction, but these are very valuable tools for crypto traders, and a way, like you just keep emphasizing the idea that you're using these tools to be more disciplined, more methodical, and manage emotions better. And so I really hear that in what you're saying, which with the markets moving as quickly as these are, that all seems absolutely essential to successful campaigning of these different crypto assets.
Absolutely, Bruce. And point of figure charting right now is a very important technique that they use almost on a daily basis in the crypto space.
Wow. Well, and I assume that you talk about these things in your Discord and also in your video recordings.
Yes, absolutely. We do this work in real time. And for example, we have used a point of figure chart of Ethereum, which is one of the big apps in the crypto space, which was very successful and helped us, many of our Discord members, to hedge during this tremendous correction. So there's still a lot of work to do, and I hope that these webinars will be just the beginning of a longer work that we have to do together, Bruce.
Well, Alessio, you're just you really are an incredible thinker and analyst on in these areas, and I just have a blast talking with you and sharing our experiences and our knowledge base. And you teach me many things. Maybe I've had the good fortune of showing you some technique, but you've shown me an awful lot, and we just are kindred spirits. And there's a lot of people that are watching this program who are kindred spirits, and we want you to be in our community, coming and being part of our experience of developing these tools and skills so that you can be the very best that you can be in your trading in these different areas that are of interest to you. So we're glad you're here, I guess is all I'm saying at this point. So, okay, so are we ready to move on, or do you have other charts to show us?
We can move on, Bruce.
Okay, so let me pause the screen here for a minute and we'll be right back. What you'll notice here, this is going back to the month of really the beginning of June, and you'll see a distribution that's forming here in the Dow Jones Industrials on an intraday basis. Classic study, has all the elements. Alessio, you can see there a climactic upthrust, a secondary test of that upthrust, and then a last point of supply. And all I've done in that yellow shaded area is count across there 25 columns times 3 times 20-point scaling. There's a whopping 1,500 Dow points of decline in this distribution count. And then I would only add to that, if you count over further, there's a bigger count potentially, which we would consider at a later date. But let's look what happened. So you can see here that this decline took like in a beeline. It just collapsed down into the count objective range, 33,340, 33,220, and there it climaxed, tested, and had a sharp rally. No real base formed in that area, just a sharp counter trend bounce, not uncommon in a downtrend. Look how beautifully the count worked. And then that count, to me, was validated by this very, very sharp advance that followed. Now, and I'm going quickly because I really want to get into the meat of the stuff here. We only have a couple minutes left. Here's the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is done quite the opposite. So here in May, you have the Nasdaq actually forming an accumulation and beginning to go into an uptrend. By the time we get into June, and this purple line here and here represent the June data, you can see that the Nasdaq is doing quite the opposite of the Dow Industrials. You don't see this very often. You know, one will outperform the other, but they typically don't go in just dramatically opposite directions. Nice distribution count here, but these two counts, we've hit this count and we have a climax, automatic reaction, secondary test right here in this count zone, which tells me that we're reaccumulating potentially for these higher count objectives, which are still ahead of us. Alessio, your thoughts?
This is an impressive causality on the Nasdaq, Bruce, and it's really beautiful for me to see how much data is condensed in these 30-minute charts.
It really, you actually see much more data in the 30-minute charts of a point figure than you would on a 30-minute vertical chart. And so you can really see get some perspective. And and look at how beautifully these counts seem to be working.
Absolutely. I love the symmetry of this structure, by the way. It's really, really interesting. And we've been asked to see a confirming count right now in this formation that is developing now.
Right. Yes. Yeah, so we likely have a count here that you're going to have to build a count along this area that will ultimately flag up to this zone, which is 15,920, 16,420, which currently we're only at 14,137. Now this is as of Monday, June 21st. So you'll have to update that data attendees. So here, with the little bit of time we have left, I want to show you a point and figure chart of a relative strength comparative. Again, 30-minute data, 3-box method using ATR scaling, 0.14. But the idea here is to do point and figure accumulation and distribution counts on relative strength. And so notice here, and I'm going to summarize, we're about out of time, is that you can see this count, the small, call it turquoise count, counts up to this area. Well, we have a little further to go to get up into this zone here, which is a relative strength zone. And then this larger count takes us up to an area much higher, 4522, 4690, which, just for perspective's sake, is about the same distance up from here that this was. So the continuation of the Nasdaq relative outperformance based on just doing classic point and figure analysis says there's more to come. There's further to go. Alessio, your thoughts?
Point and figure charts, relative performance charts. Wow. And we can do the same, actually, a relative strength chart between, for example, altcoins and Bitcoin. So
let's do it.
We'll do that.
Sure. I'm putting it on the list of our to-do list. Now, one last thing before we go, because we really are out of time. This little area here is the area we just studied on the 30-minute data here, which goes back to early May. But notice this is just Nasdaq to industrials, again, showing the dramatic reversal of performance towards Nasdaq. But look at this. Alessio, look at this area here back to early March. That could be a whole relative strength count area for potentially much higher objectives.
Oh, that's a tremendous causality, Bruce.
Isn't it? It's just gigantic, which suggests that the whole growth, mega cap growth theme could dominate for a long time into the future. So with that, go ahead, Alessio, your last thoughts.
Just thinking to this big consolidation, it's really impressive, Bruce.
Well, I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you for looking at my studies. Your studies are fantastic. And we will see you all on July 8th for our workshop. And with that, I will say goodbye.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.